Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel Learn at Cloud Analytics. Hope you're all doing good. And today I have come with an interesting real-time scenario of creating a star reporting in Power BI. So I'm going. This is going to be pretty simple and cool to learn and do. And I'm excited to show you how to create this beautiful star rating report in Power BI. So without any delay, let's dive in. So, in this report, which I've created already for your better understanding, let's understand what are the different elements that we would need to capture to create this kind of a star rating report. So, here, if you observe, I've just tried to bring in my subcategory data along with the total sales value, and I'm trying to provide a rating against to my total sales value with respect to my different subcategories, right? So, what are the different elements that we are trying to focus here? So, the first part of my understanding is that first we need to get this particular character being created, right? So, first we need to get this particular character so that I can uh, provide this particular star rating against to my total sales value. So for that, again, I see that there are two variations of stars being created. The first one being a fill star, the other one being an empty star. So I'd like to first create an empty star and a fill star, and then I'd like to repeat those values based on the specific condition that we are trying to evaluate, right? So here, as you can see, I have given a 5-star rating for all the sales value which are above 1 lakh, and for the other sales values which are below 1 lakh with a 3-star rating, right? So I've just used these conditions to be applied in order to better in order to provide a better understanding against those particular measure values. So here, the first thing that we understood is first we need to get that particular character being created, which is a fill star, and then the second one is an empty star to be created, and then the third step is that based on the condition that we are trying to evaluate against this particular measure values, we would like to generate those number of stars against that particular sales value, which is nothing but the rating that we would like to give based on the condition. So, what is the next step that we are trying to do? Based on a conditional evaluation, we would like to represent those many number of stars against to that particular measure value. Okay, so now let's try to break down these list of elements that we are trying to focus on. And for that, I would like to explain you how we can generate those particular stars being created. So for that, I'm trying to use my date table here, and let me create a new column and call this column as a fill star. So the first element that we are trying to create is a fill star, right? So this is just for your understanding. I'm creating within my date table, but for our report to be created thereafter, I'd be using the other table, which is my orders table, which is here. Okay, so now how do I get a fill star being generated out of my data, or how do I even get that particular character being created? So within the text DAX functions, we have a function called UNICHAR function. So let us understand what is this UNICHAR. So UNICHAR function is nothing but it would return the Unicode character of the provided numeric value. So based on the number that we insert within this function, it would generate that equivalent Unicode character of that particular number. So for my requirement, since I require a fill star character to be generated, so I would need to understand which is that particular numeric value that I should insert within this particular function. So for that, the number is 9733. Now let me hit on apply, and as you can see here, the fill star column is now been populated with the filled star icon or the fill star character. So this is exactly what we are trying to focus on, right? So this is my first requirement. Now let's try to understand the second part of it. So along with the fill star character, we would also require the empty star character, right? So we have to represent whenever we have the rating which is below 5 rating, we'd like to represent those uh, ratings with the empty star so that everything is denoted in a uniform structure. So for that again, I would go back to my dates table and create a new column, and then I would call this column as a empty star now. And empty star. And how do I get this empty star now? So again, the same concept. So I would be using this UNICHAR function, but now since I require an empty star, I cannot use the same numeric value which I've inserted for my fill star calculation. Rather, I would like to use another number called 9734. So 9733 number would provide us with a fill star Unicode character, while the 9734 number would return the empty star Unicode character. So let me hit on apply and OK. And now we can see that the empty star column has been populated with the empty star character. So these are my initial requirements of my report, right? So we've got my fill star along with my empty star characters. So this is fine. But then, in order to denote these stars based on the condition that we are trying to evaluate, how do I generate these many number of stars against my total sales value, right? So if you notice in this particular formula here, even if I've applied UNICHAR of 9734 or 9733 for my fill star, it is just returning me a single star value, but not 5 stars or 4 stars or how many stars that I wish to represent against my data value, right? So how do I create those many number of stars? And how am I going to evaluate my sales values? So now let's try to understand this portion of my requirement. So for that, let me go to a fresh page, and I would now use my other table, which is my superstore orders table. And from here, I would like to bring in my, let me try to bring in another dimension, customer name. So for my customer, I would like to display the total sales value. So from my original table, orders table, I just have the measure value, which is sales value. But remember, whenever we try to use or apply any DAX functions within Power BI reporting, right, it is advised or suggested that we create or use an explicit measure instead of an implicit measure. Now, if you're unsure of what is an implicit and an explicit measure, then I would leave a link to that particular video in my description so that you can go ahead and understand the differences between both of them. But for your quick understanding, let me explain it here again. So, an implicit measure is nothing but the numerical measure that comes directly from your data source itself, like here, which is the sales. And you can see that the sales value, since it is a numerical value, it has been denoted with a summation icon next to it, and the default summation or the default aggregation to the sales value is sum. And if you wish to change that particular aggregation, you would have to select that particular measure and change the summation from either sum to a different set of an aggregation type, right? But so these are termed as the implicit measure. Now the other one is the explicit measure. So explicit measure on the other side is nothing but these are the calculations that we have created. So we have created a measure, and by using this aggregation sum, this becomes a explicit measure, because here instead of using the aggregation as sum, we can specify any sort of other aggregation as required. And these measures which we create using this particular formula here, right, these can be reused again and again as needed within that particular report and the data set. So these are reusable and flexible enough. Now, let's try to apply this total sales. So I have for this particular report requirement, I have created an explicit measure based on my total sales value, which is nothing but my sum of order sales. And now let me try to bring in this total sales value. So now that I've got my total sales value, okay, let me try to increase the font size of my report. So a bonus tip here for you to quickly do the formatting of your report is, in case if you already have a report which has a formatting that can be applied to another visual, you can simply go back to that respective visual, select that visual, and on the home ribbon on the top, you can just select this format painter and come back to the respective visual and select on that, and that's it. So your formatting gets applied to that respective visual as well, which is reducing the effort and time for you to reapply the same formatting steps. Okay, so now let's continue again on this particular requirement. So now that we've got the customer wise total sales value being represented, let me quickly sort this particular value. All right, so now that the sales are now in sorted in a descending order, let us create another calculation, or let us create another measure to provide some conditional evaluation, or to do some conditional evaluation. So what is my condition that I'd like to evaluate on? So I'd like to state or see the customers whose sales value is above 11,000, and the customers whose sales value is below 10,000 and 7,000, right? For this particular conditional evaluation, we would use the logical functions within Power BI DAX. So that was my previous video that I've posted earlier. So if you haven't visited my logical functions video, so then I would suggest you to please go ahead and look at that particular video, for which I would also leave that particular link to the video in the description, so that you can understand thoroughly what are the different logical functions that we have in Power BI. All right. Now let's try to create that particular calculation here. So for that, I'll go back to my table orders table and create a new measure. And let me zoom a little bit on my formula bar. All right. And then I will call this measure as sales star KPI. Okay. So this measure value that we are trying to evaluate here, or the condition that we are trying to evaluate here, is nothing but we would like to see the sales values which are or the customers whose sales value is above 11,000. So that is my first condition, right? So if the sales value is above 11,000, I would like to give those customers with a 5-star rating. So for that, I am using the function called if function. So this is a logical function. So the syntax to it is, first I have to parse the logical expression here. So the logical expression is nothing but if my total sales value is above or greater than 11,000, then what should that be returning? If this condition is met, then the true part of this if condition would be, I would like to represent that with a fill star character, right? So I'd like to have a 5-star rating being provided against that particular line item. So for that, I would use this function called UNICHAR, as we've seen earlier. UNICHAR of 9733, which would give us with a fill star icon, right? And now let me go to the next line item, which is the other condition. So I'm pressing the alt and enter, which would allow me to go to the next line item. So the next condition that we are going to evaluate is if my total sales is below 7,000, and what should that be provided with a 3-star rating. And then the else part is that I would like to give a 4-star rating for the other conditions. So I'm just closing these parentheses, and let me first apply this part. So we've just created the conditional evaluation based on a star rating. So I'm trying to apply this newly created measure onto my report here. But as you notice, I don't have that 5-star rating or a 3-star rating being denoted against to my measure values or with respect to these row line items, right? So why am I being resulted with a single line item? Because I have not specified or have not given another condition saying how these stars should be presented, right? So for that again I'll go back to my calculation, and here I would say if my total sales is greater than 11,000, I need a 5-star rating represented in a fill star character. Fill star character. So, how many times? 5 times. In order to repeat that stars character 5 times, we have another text DAX function which is the repeat function. I repeat again, it is the REPT repeat function. So, this is a text DAX function. So what does this repeat function do? It would it would consider the given text and repeat that particular text the number of times that we specify here. So how many times would I like to represent this fill star icon which would meet this particular condition? 5-star, right? So I'd like to give this particular condition as 5-star rating. Now the next condition that we are trying to look at is if my sales is below 7,000, we would like to give that with a 3-star rating, right? With a 3-star rating. So, in order to give a 3-star rating, again, I would need to apply this function repeat and specify that we require a 3-star rating. And then for the else part of the condition, which means that the sales values which are in the range of 7K and 11K, those should be repeated or those should be given with a 4-star rating. So again I would use that repeat function and comma 4-star rating. Okay, so now let me try to apply. Okay, so now let me come back to the report here. Now, as you can see, for all the values which are above 11K have been given with a 5-star filled star icon. And for the values which are below 11K, that is from the 10,000 range to 7,000, as you can see, those are denoted with a 4-star rating. And for the else part, for the other condition which is below 7,000 have been treated with a 3-star rating. Right. So this is uh, three-fourth of what we've achieved. But the other part of the section is that we also wanted to represent this star rating with a uniform structure, which means that wherever we have a 4 or a 3-star or other than 5-star rating, those missing stars have to be denoted by a empty star character. So for that again, how do we do that? We just need to go back to this calculation here, and we know that in order to bring in an empty star, we have this numerical value which is 9734. So we have to use that particular number within the UNICHAR function. So now let me try to, and again we have to combine those fill star with my empty star character together in a single line. So it should not come as a separate column, but rather in the same line item both the stars have to be combined together and be denoted against that particular row item. So, in order to combine two values together or two text values together, we would need to concatenate those two values together. So, in order to concatenate, we can use simply the logical AND operator in Power BI. So we could either use the logical AND function, which is the AND function directly, or simply you can use the ampersand icon, ampersand operator, and do the concatenation directly. So simply I'll use the ampersand icon here and say what I would like to represent when when I have a 3-star filled star rating. I would also concatenate with a 2-star empty star rating. So for that again, I would say unique error of 9734. But this empty star should be repeated by 2 times. So repeat of this 9734 comma twice it should be repeated, right? 2 stars it should be represented. So I'm giving comma 2. Likewise for the else condition. So let me just zoom out a little bit. Okay. Now for the else part where we have a 4-star rating, again I'd like to concatenate this particular expression with a single star filled one single empty star character. So again I'm using the repeat and UNICHAR of 9734 comma 1. Okay. So I'll close the parenthesis and now let me hit on apply. Now if you see here, for all the sales values whose sales value is below 11,000 are being represented by 4 fill star character and 1 empty star character. And likewise, if I scroll through the values, for the values which are below 7,000, those are represented by 3 empty fill star rating and 2 empty star rating combined together in a single row item. So likewise, we are able to create this star rating report in Power BI. So let me again explain this calculation what we've used here. So here we have used three different types of functions. The first function that we have used here is the nested if because we are trying to evaluate some conditional statements. So for any conditional evaluation, we use the logical functions in Power BI. So what are the important logical functions? If and switch functions. So the same formula which I've used with the if condition can also be rewritten using the switch function as well. But here since it is a measure comparison, it is always recommended to use the if instead of the switch condition. Okay, so therefore, let me try to explain this function here. So I'm saying if the total sales value is greater than 11,000, then I would like to represent that value with a 5-star rating. And all the 5 stars should be denoted with a fill star character. So in order to get the fill star character, we have the function called UNICHAR function and the numerical value is for the star 9733. So this would return a single fill star character. But here we'd like to denote it with 5 fill star characters. So in order to get those stars being repeated for 5 times, I'm using another function called repeat. So I'm just inserting or parsing this expression within my repeat function and specifying how many times I would like to repeat that particular character. So for the first condition, it should be 5 times. So 5 number. And then the next condition that we are trying to evaluate here is if my total sales value is less than 7,000, then I would like to denote or I'd like to treat that with a 3-star rating. So 3 fill star rating and 2 with the empty star rating. So for that I'm using this repeat of UNICHAR 9733, 3 which would give us 3 fill stars, and along with the 3 fill stars, I also wanted to display 2 empty stars being concatenated with my fill stars notation. So in order to concatenate, I'm using this ampersand operator, which is the end function in logical functions, the logical end. And by using this concatenation function, I'm parsing the other expression, which is my UNICHAR of 9734, which would return a empty star character, and this empty star should be repeated for 2 times because of that particular condition. So therefore I'm using this repeat function by specifying the number of times as 2. And then the else part, which is when for the sales values which are in between the 7k and 11k, those should be treated with 4-star rating, and the leftover 1 star should be denoted by the empty star notation. So this is how we can create a star based reporting in Power BI. So This is what I'd like to explain you in this particular video. And as a bonus tip, please don't miss here now. So as a bonus tip, you can apply this small tip that I'm going to explain it right now across your other reports that you might use in the real time scenario. So the bonus tip that I'd like to explain here is, as you can see in this particular conditional evaluation, right, we have the star rating being applied against my totals as well. So what if I don't want, or when it is irrelevant to denote such expressions within your totals, right? How do you exclude them being represented? So in order to do that, in order to avoid those star ratings denoted against your total value, all you have to do is that go back to the format pane from the visuals section, and go to the specific column and select the column name as sales star KPI, and turn on the apply to total and disable the apply to totals. And then if you scroll down, you see the values. So come to the text color and the background color and change these colors to white. And that would eliminate that particular rating being disappeared. So this is a quicker way of eradicating those unwanted characters being displayed against your totals. So this is your bonus tip. I hope you enjoy this video, and please do leave a comment in the comment section if this tip was helpful for you, and also if the star rating report has been important and beneficial for your learning path. That's it for today then. Thank you.